Hello dear students, today I'm going to start a new chapter with you, so chapter 5, and talking about trigonometric functions in general. So how we deal with this one, what's the purpose of the angle, how we find the angles using calculator or any other device, smart device for finding or sketching the graph. That will be our objective for today. Now I am starting with the page 134. We are going to I am going to talk about sine and cosine in general and tan. Then later I will mention some new things for you. About the angle, the important things here that we know, if I say theta, for example, or t or any other is equal to pi over 3, means that we have the angle to here, and here's pi over 3. Okay, here's pi over 3. Or when I say theta is equal to pi over 4, means that I'm going to sketch the graph or sketch the angle into the opposite of clockwise. So like here it's going from the right to left, so I have pi over 4. I'll say this angle is phi, or maybe I will say I have minus pi over 4. So it means that we are going with the direction with the counter with the clockwise. This is the counterclockwise. This one is with the direction with the clockwise. So I have what? I'll get pi over 4 with the minus. And you know this is called the first quadrant, and the second quadrant, and third quadrant. Also we have the fourth quadrant. So for this they are very important, and you know cosine, sine here is positive, cosine is also positive, and in the second quadrant just sine is positive, cosine negative, and here both are negative. And in the third one cosine is negative, sine is negative, cosine is positive. So you need these really backgrounds of information, because these are fundamental for you, and you heard these words. Okay, in the for finding the value of this, I am going to really to the next page. We have a table, and maybe you are facing difficulty to control this one or memorizing this one, but I have a good news for you. You don't need to memorize. Now I am teaching you this table, how to use this table without memorizing the angle. So in case if you have an angle, we call it t or theta, and you need to find theta, sine and cosine, or maybe tan, okay, without using the calculator. In the first quadrant we have a special graphs, special angles, so we are starting with the 0. Also we have pi over 6, okay, pi over 6, which means to 30 degree, and also we have pi over 4. Pi over 4 is equal to 45 degree, okay, and again we have what? Pi over 3 was equal to what? Equal to no, I'm going to write it. This isn't good. So theta, sine, cosine, or maybe you see tan, okay. Now 0, we have pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3, pi over 2. is equal to 30, 45, 60, and 90. Okay, degree. Okay. So without memorizing the angles, I'll start with the equations. Okay, with the rational things. For example, I have rational. You know how to find the equation, to write the equation, and I'm going to put 2 under each fraction, or let all denominator be 2. And now I'll put the square root sign in the numerator for all of them, and I'll write 0, 1, and I'm going to increase 2, 3, 4. How about here? I'll start with the 4 and decreasing here. 3, 2, 1, 0. Now, if some students, for example, ask me about sign of pi over 4, really I don't know. I'll go to the sign. Here's pi over 4, like a multiplication table. So here's the sign or cross table we see. Pi over 4, so is equal to square root of 2 over 2. Okay. Or maybe you are asking about pi over 2, cosine. I don't know. Here's cosine, and I'm crossing the line, column with a row. So here's pi over 2. I have 0 over 2, and you know is equal to what? To 0. 0 over 2 and equal to 0. So this one is equal to 0. And this one is equal to 1 over 2. Why? Because the square root over 1 is equal to 1 over 2. How about this one? Square root of 4 is equal to 2 over 2 is equal to 1. That's why I have 1 over 2 or 1. So maybe somebody asked me about sine pi over 3. I say really I don't know, because I have no memorizing things. I cannot memorize all these things in the math especially. So pi over 3, here's pi over 3, and I have what? I have sine. I want a sine, so I will write down is equal to 3 over 2. How about cosine of pi over 3 again? I know now you are controlling the table, is equal to 1 over 2. How about tan of pi over 3? And you know the tan is equal to what? The tan is equal to sine over cosine, for example. Now I have what? Square root of 3 over 2, 1 over 2, 1 over 2, 1 over 2 is going, so it remains 3 over 1 is equal to square root of 3. That's all. How about tan of, for example, you are asking me tan of this one is equal to 0. Tan of this one is equal to square root 1 over square root of 3. How about this one? Is equal to 1, because they are like each other, and is equal to 3 as undefined. Why is undefined? Why tan of 90 is undefined? Because I know sine of 90 is equal to 1, cosine of 90 is equal to 0, and is undefined. That's all. I think it's easy, and you can deal with this table. So it's very important and very benefit, and you know this means that sine and cosine positive, just sine positive, both of them negative, means that then cosine is positive. That's all. How about quadrant? We have first, second, third, fourth quadrant. How about positives? You have these positive. Okay, later I'm going to talk about these functions. Now, how about finding? How about reference? We have an important thing, a reference number. How about finding, for example, if this one, these angles, it was about first quadrant, right? From 0 to 90, we have 3 good or irregular angles, or let's see, there are 3 important angles. How about finding the main angles? Now, if I am sketching unit circle, means that the radius is equal to 1. Here's also radius is equal to 1, to 1, to 1. Okay. This point in x-axis, in x and y-axis, this point is equal to what? Now, 1 over x, 0 over y. Am I right? This point is equal to what? Is equal to 1, 0. Okay, how about this one? Is equal to 0 and 1. 0 over x, 1 over y. How about this one? I have what? Minus 1 and 0. You know why? Because I'm going to here, so this is minus 1. And how about over y? There is nothing. I have a 0. How about this angle? 0 and minus y. That's easy for you. Now, transform x to cosine and y to sine. Say, sine is deal with or really has got relation, or it has relation with x, and cosine with the y-axis. So what's the benefit of this unit circle? This angle is equal to what? 0. How about if I am going to here? Pi over 2 instead 90. How about this one? I have pi. Theta is equal to pi or 180. How about this one? 2 or 3 pi over 2 pi, 1 pi over 2, 2 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2 is equal to 70. How about this one again? Is equal to 2 pi. Am I right? So we have a unit circle, each one with the angle 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi again. Now, how about the points? I have what? 1 and 0, 0 and 1, minus 1 and 0, 0 and minus 1. The point, I mean this point, okay? So what's the relation this unit circle with the sine and cosine? This, as I told you, is a cosine and sine. Now, if somebody asks me, as I got a question and say, find, okay, find, okay, somebody asks me, find cosine of pi over 2. Really, I don't know. Where's cosine? Here's cosine, and here's the pi over 2, and I ask about cosine. Cosine means that x-axis, so I say directly, I say is equal to 0. How about cosine of 3 pi over 2? I'm going to 3 pi over 2. Here's cosine, also is equal to 0. How about cosine of pi? I don't know. I'm going to cos pi. Here's cosine, the x-axis is equal to minus 1. You can see it's easy. How about sine of 3 pi over 2? Directly I cannot decide. I say pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, and sine is y-axis. Sine is y-axis. So directly I will decide is equal to minus 1. Without using calculator, you can find these all together. Okay, now I have any question. For example, if I say find, as you have in the example 2, A, B, C, they are very, very important for what? For teach you how to find the other angles, especially if they are related to what? Related to the other important angles. In this example, example 2, we are going to, so forget about this one. In this example, example 2, we are going to combine the information in this table, as we did it together, and this information together for finding 2 pi over 3, for example. It's not 3 pi over 2. Be careful, it's not 3 pi over 2, it's 2 pi over 3. So, cosine, example 2, page of, I think 135, in your lecture note. So you see that find, okay, cosine 2 pi over 3. Before you are going to find, please try to find the angle is in which quadrant, in the first, second, third, or fourth. And because I know 2 pi over 3 is equal to what? I told you 2 pi over 3 is equal to 60, right? Okay, here we have 2 pi over 3, and you know pi over 3 is equal to 60. So it means that cosine of 120. So 120, I know it's 90, 180. So 120 is here. So how about the cosine? How we find this one? First of all, we have cosine 2 pi over 3. The reference, I mean these numbers, let me recall these numbers as our reference. Okay. The reference that we have in this example is pi over 3. So forget about 2. Say is equal to cosine of pi over 3. Okay. Find the cosine of pi over 3 and use the table that we used before. Okay. Cosine of pi over 2. Pi over 3. So is equal to what? 1 over 2. Okay, dear. And before you leave your answer, you say I done with this answer. No. Do not forget about the quadrant in here, because in the original one it was 120 or 2 pi over 3. So I was in what? It was in the second quadrant. And in the second quadrant, you know, cosine is what? Is negative. So in the second quadrant, cosine is negative. So I'll put minus 1 over 2. So I say it's equal to minus 1 over 2. See, it's easy. Why? Because I used the reference and sine of the quadrant. That's all. How about finding sine of tan of pi over 3? Okay, I have what? B. See that? Find tan of minus pi over 3. You know. Forget about minus. Say I have just tan of pi over 3. Okay, dear. So tan of pi over 3 is equal to what? You can decide from here or here. It's okay. You have what? Pi over 3. Tan is equal to is what? Is equal to square root of 3. The sine over cosine. So that's why I say is equal to pi over 3. And minus pi over 3 is where? It's a little bit challenging. So please find it. I know pi over 3 is here with a minus. So I am in the which quadrant? I'm in the fourth quadrant. I'm in the fourth quadrant. So in the fourth quadrant, which of them is positive and negative? I don't know. Just cosine is positive. So sine is negative, cosine is positive in the fourth quadrant. Okay. So negative over positive is equal to negative. So I will say, or I'll decide that because I'm in the fourth quadrant, this is my answer. That's all. I think it's easy. It's not difficult that you are thinking about it. So how about the number C? You have what? Look, sine of 90 multiply pi over 4. Yeah, tell me, where's our reference angle? Where's our reference angle? You can see pi over 4, right? Am I right? Pi over 4. Okay. Now directly I'll say I should find pi over 4 and go check the sine of pi over 4. Here's sine, here's pi over 4 is equal to square root 2 over 2. So I will say is equal to square root 2 over 2. Now it's time to choose or find the sine of this one, or finding the quadrant. 90 times multiply pi over 4. So pi over 4 is here. This is pi over 4. 1, right? 1 pi over 4. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? 9, 10, 11, 12, 30, 40. Okay, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. So I am here. So here's my angle. So I'm in this what? I'm in the second quadrant. And I know in the second quadrant sine is positive. Right? So I'll leave it like that. As it's equal to 2 pi over 2. You can see the reference number and the special big angles that are very important. They help us for finding anything without using what? Without calculator. Because in the exam, as I told you before, in the beginning of this semester, I say what? I say that calculator is not allowed. That's all. So here's your answer. Here's your result. Okay. Now we have just some new things so far. We have what? We have cosine, cosecant of t. These are new for you, and secant of t also. Also we have cotan of t. These are the new things for you. Cosecant is 1 over sine. Secant is 1 over cotan. Okay, sorry, cosine of x. Cotan is 1 over tan. It's the reciprocal of the tan. So I say what? I will repeat it again. Cosecant, for example, of x or of theta, if I don't know, is equal to what? I say is equal to 1 cosine, over sine theta. How about if somebody asks me about sine, for example, secant of pi over 3? I say I don't know, but I know is equal to 1 over cosine pi over 3, which I have a reference number and is equal to pi. As I told you, I really am not memorizing all these. Also, I don't know. So is equal to 1 over 2, right? 1 over 2. Sorry, 1 over 2. And now I will say I have what? Is equal to 2. That's all. Okay, dear. Finding the function is even or not. When I say the function, I mean these 6 trigonometric functions: sine, cosine, tan, cosecant, secant, and cotan. If I say secant, sorry, the basic angle or the basic functions are sine or of x or t or theta or anything, and cosine. Because if I want to construct tan, I just say sine over cosine, right? So I don't need to know about all of them, just I want to fix or fix the sine and cosine. So sine of theta, if I put, and about the even and odd function, if I put, for example, sine of minus theta, the minus will come out. Okay, the minus will come out and I will get minus theta. So it means that sine of theta is an odd function. Okay, dear. How about cosine of theta? Cosine of minus theta, I will get cosine theta without any minus. So it means that cosine is an even function. Okay, now I'm asking a question. Secant of theta is odd or an even function? Okay, answer. Think about this question. Secant is odd or even? So first of all, I know secant is equal to 1 over cosine of theta. If you forget about this one, you can find in the page 137, and you have the reciprocal identity, means the cosecant is 1 over sine, secant, cosecant, and all of them. So because secant of theta is equal to 1 cosine theta, so I will say that secant of minus theta is equal to 1 over cosecant of minus theta, and I know cosine is even, so I will get cosine of theta. So it means that I will get what? Secant of minus theta is equal to 1 over cosine theta, or I can say secant of minus theta is equal to secant theta. So it means that secant also is an even function. So second is cosine is even. Okay, the same thing true for second. So we have just these two functions are even. Sine is what? Sine is an odd function, and cosecant, because is equal to 1 over sine, also is odd, and tan, because there's a sine with the tan function, also is an odd function. Also cosine, because is equal to 1 over tan, or is equal to cosine over sine. So also because I have a sine, I'll get the another odd function. So just these two functions are odd, the rest one are odd function. Just cosine and secant are what are even function. So how about sine of minus pi over 6? You can solve this one by the previous method using the reference. Forget about minus and just say I have a sine of pi over 6 and is equal to sine pi over 6 is equal to 1 over 2. But because I'm talking about minus pi over 6, so it means that I'm in the fourth quadrant, and in the fourth quadrant sine is negative, that's why I put negative. This is the previous method, the old one. Or about the even I say sine is even odd function, so minus will come out and I will get sine of pi over 6, which is equal to minus 1 over 2. And you know. How about cosine? Cosine, because is an even function, I will neglect the negative and just have a cosine pi over 2, which is equal to pi square root of 2 over 2. That's all about this section. So please try to control all angles, especially the reference angles here, and do not forget about the sign of the trigonometric functions, quadrants, first, second, third quadrants. That's all that you need in this section, and really will give you the basic, strong basic for about these functions. And later in this next section we are going to give you the graph of the trigonometric functions. Especially in this section we are going to talk about sine and cosine. So see you later in the next section. You can find the record about this function.